This is a big one if you're into environment. This is about as big as it gets, they tell me, and it's an honor to be here with a terrific person who's worked so hard on this. Some other terrific people. Thank you very much. But I'm pleased to be joined today by EPA Administrator Lee Zelden, who you all know, and to announce the single largest deregulatory action in American history. That's a big statement in American history, and I think we can add the words by far. Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers. Prices went up incredibly for a worse product. This action will eliminate over $1.3 trillion of regulatory costs and help bring car prices tumbling down dramatically. You're going to get a better car. You're going to get a car that starts easier, a car that works better for a lot less money. In 2009, Barack Hussein Obama, his EPA designated fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and other things that actually make factories rock and roll and other things drive very nicely as a threat to health and human welfare, known as the endangerment finding. This determination had no basis, in fact, had none whatsoever, and it had no basis in law. On the contrary, over the generations, fossil fuels have saved millions of lives and lifted billions of people out of poverty all over the world, and you see it with the blackouts all over where they don't use it, where they went to wind, intermittent wind, which is weak and ineffective and very, very costly, most costly energy there is. And people are dying because there was no air conditioning or there was no heating. Lots of other things, bad things happened. And yet this radical rule became the legal foundation for the Green New Scam, one of the greatest scams in history, probably as great, maybe even greater than Russia hoax, etc., which the Obama and Biden administration used to destroy countless jobs. And the jobs have been just decimated. Although they're all coming back because of tariffs, they're all coming back into our country at levels we've never seen before. But it raised prices and caused immense harm to the U.S. auto industry. We thought irreparable, but we've got them back. We're coming back now. I was in Detroit, as you know, with Ford, and they had one of the earliest plants from the early 1900s, and it was going to be closed down. And then when I won, they said, let's keep it open for a little while. Let's see what happens. And they just announced, as you know, they're going 24 hours around the clock with that same plant that was going to be closed because of what we've done. For example, under the endangerment finding, they forced the hated start-stop feature onto American consumers, which unnecessarily shuts off a car's engine when you stop at a red light. In other words, the engine goes off. That's great. The endangerment finding was also used to impose the massive and really very expensive electric vehicle mandate, expensive in the sense that nobody wanted it. Everybody was going to be forced to buy an electric car in a very short period of time, even though you can't power the car because we would have had to spend $5 trillion on power stations. That's all dead, gone, over. These crippling restrictions were a major factor in driving up car prices to unprecedented levels, and the car that you were getting was not nearly as good. In 4 years under the Biden administration, the price of a new and used car rose more than 22%, all to facilitate the Green New Scam without achieving any meaningful impact on the environment, but making the car worse. That's why, effective immediately, we are repealing the ridiculous endangerment finding and terminating all additional green emission standards imposed unnecessarily on vehicle models and engines between 2012 and 2027 and beyond. This action will save American consumers trillions of dollars and will lower the average cost of a new vehicle by close to $3,000. Think of that. During my campaign, I promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new regulation. And we've exceeded that. We've instead done it 10 regulations. We were able to cut 129. So now we cut 129. So think of that. I promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new one, but we did more than 10. We did 129. It's something, nobody can even believe it. So we did a lot of regulation cutting in the first administration, a record, nobody even close to it now. We're actually exceeding it in this administration. The biggest one yet that we've done is happening right now. So perhaps no industry has benefited more from our historic deregulation campaign than the U.S. auto industry. We canceled the EPA's absurd, just totally absurd, tailpipe emission standards, which was a disaster for automobile manufacturing, and revoked Biden's emissions waiver that would have allowed California to regulate automobiles for the entire nation. And they're crazy out in California. They have nothing but trouble out there, as you know. That's why people are leaving in record numbers. I also ended Joe Biden's extreme CAFE emission standards, saving the average American consumer much more than $1,000 when they buy a new car. But now we're talking about close to $3,000. These regulation cuts, combined with our tax cuts and tariffs, are the reason why the world's largest automakers have announced that they're going to be spending in excess of $100 billion in the United States in the next very short period of time, building new auto plants. We're bringing our auto plants, assembly plants, and factories roaring back to life, not even mentioning AI and all of the other things. We're building thousands of businesses in the United States. And if you remember, on my first day, they said if I could ever get the Dow up to 50,000 in my last year, in other words, in the fourth year, that it would be an unbelievable miracle. But don't worry about it, because it'll never happen, they said. And if I could get the S&P up to 7,000, they said in the fourth year, they said it will never happen. Let's not even talk about it. I have things. Let's not even waste our time talking about it. Well, at the very end of my first year, the Dow hit 50,000. Now it's over 50,000. And 3 days before that, the S&P hit 7,000. So we didn't have to wait till the end of the fourth year. We just waited till the end of the first year. We've never had a country in a position like this, and a lot of it's due to tariffs, and a lot of it's due to the fact that we had a great election, and a lot of good things have been done. One of the good things I did was put Lee Zelden in charge of our environment. So I'm going to ask Lee to say a few words. Thank you very much. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a big deal. Under President Trump's leadership today, the Trump EPA has finalized the single largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States of America. Referred to by some as the holy grail of federal regulatory overreach, the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding is now eliminated. This action will save American taxpayers over $1.3 trillion. What that means is lower prices, more choices, and an end of heavy-handed climate policies. With today's announcement, American families will save over $2,400 for a new vehicle. 16 years ago, an ideological crusade within the Obama administration set off the most costly regulatory power grab our country has ever experienced. The 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding led to trillions of dollars in regulations that strangled entire sectors of the United States economy, including the American auto industry. It claimed new powers over the vehicles we drive, even though the best reading of the Clean Air Act clearly states otherwise. The Obama and Biden administrations used it to steamroll into existence a left-wing wish list of costly climate policies, electric vehicle mandates, and other requirements that assaulted consumer choice and affordability. And who paid the biggest price? Hardworking families, small businesses, millions of Americans who just want a reliable, affordable car to get to work, take their kids to school, or go to church on Sunday. The endangerment finding and the regulations that were based on it didn't just regulate emissions. It regulated and targeted the American dream. And now the endangerment finding is hereby eliminated, as well as all greenhouse gas emission standards that followed. The red tape has been cut. Manufacturers will no longer be burdened by measuring, compiling, or reporting greenhouse gas emissions for vehicles and engines. And the forced transition to electric vehicles is eliminated. No longer will automakers be pressured to shift their fleets towards electric vehicles, vehicles that are still sitting unsold on dealer lots all across America. And as a cherry on top, we are ending the federal government's push to get manufacturers to install that Obama switch, the almost universally despised start-stop feature. There will be no more climate participation trophies awarded to manufacturers for making Americans' cars die at every red light and stop sign. It's over, done, finished. Under President Trump's leadership, vehicle manufacturers can once again build what Americans want, not what politicians and bureaucrats in Washington demand. President Trump campaigned on reviving the auto industry, and he continues to deliver win after win after win, ending electric vehicle mandates, getting rid of the Biden Cafe standards with Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, and securing massive new U.S. manufacturing investments and all of the jobs that come with it. Affordable cars mean opportunity. That means jobs, healthcare, education, and mobility, especially for working families and rural Americans who rely on their vehicles every single day. What's up, Marvin? And this isn't just about making the American economy boom. It's also about restoring the rule of law, a fundamental principle of our great republic. For years, unelected bureaucrats twisted the Clean Air Act into something it was never meant to be. The Obama administration twisted itself into some kind of mental pretzel to invoke authority it didn't have and to sidestep Congress. They claimed that 6 greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles, some of which aren't even emitted from vehicles and trucks, contribute some amount above zero to global climate change, what they said.
Let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up.
But their wild web of mental leaps isn't prescribed in federal statute. The Obama EPA's House of Cards upended the best reading of the Clean Air Act, as well as 50 years of EPA precedent on what constitutes regulable air pollution. In the 16 years that intervened, the Supreme Court has established clear precedent in Loper Bright Enterprises in West Virginia versus EPA. And in light of these Supreme Court decisions and other developments, upon his swearing in last year, President Trump immediately tasked on day one submitting requirements.
That's too much like
research on the legality and continued applicability of the 2009 endangerment finding. And at Trump's speed,
that's too much like right, Thomas.
Turned around.
Too much like right.
We looked at the Clean Air Act. We looked at what the highest court in the land had said, and we used a very simple metric. If Congress didn't authorize it, EPA shouldn't be doing it.
I said that's too much like right. They ain't going to address no files.
Congress never voted for these climate mandates inside of Section 202 of the Clean Air Act. If Congress wants EPA to regulate the heck out of greenhouse gases emitted from motor vehicles, then Congress can clearly make that the law, which they haven't done for good reason. Today, we dismantle the tactics and legal gymnastics used by the Obama and Biden administrations to backdoor their ideological agendas on the American people. Following the plain language of the law, we have now realigned EPA's rulemaking to reflect the Clean Air Act exactly as it is written and as Congress intended, not as others might wish it to be. Where our predecessors focused on trying to make and please a few fear-mongering climate alarmists, the Trump EPA is making decisions to benefit all Americans based on common sense and reality. And the American people are tired of paying the price of political games. Last November, they voted for an administration that would listen to them. They told us that the price of a newer, safer vehicle was too high. They told us they didn't want cars that shut off at every red light. They told us dealers were sitting on lots filled with electric vehicles that nobody wanted or were buying. The Trump EPA listened. We heard you and we acted. And today's action does not change regulations on traditional air pollutants and air toxics. This EPA is committed to providing clean air for all Americans.
Yeah, right.
Powering the Great American Comeback is based on the singular focus of providing clean air, land, and water for all Americans while harnessing the greatness of the American economy. That's a big difference from our predecessor. We believe that we can and must choose both. If you want an electric vehicle, buy one. If you want a diesel truck, then buy that. If you want a gas-powered vehicle or a hybrid, well, more power to you. That's what freedom and choice look like.
Yeah, for your clan
We're
buddies.
restoring the rule of law. We're grounding policy in reality. We're giving power back to the American people. And we're bringing back the American dream stronger than ever before. EPA will never waver on its core mission of protecting human health and the environment, and this administration knows we can do that while ushering in the golden age of America. To recap, the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding and all greenhouse gas emission standards on light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles that followed is eliminated.
They really hate Obama.
American families now will save over $2,400 for a new vehicle. Today, the single largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States, over $1.3 trillion. The elimination of the endangerment finding is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Thank you, Lee. That was long, but good. It was good. Maybe I should say great. It was great, and we appreciate it. Would you have anything to say, Russ? Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Literally no other president would have done this to get at the foundations of the Green New Deal. So tremendously excited that we are where we are today. Great work by Lee. I'm a little worried that this next year will be EPA alone will be dereg east by the number of things that are going to come out of EPA. So great work to the team. $1.3 trillion in savings, massive historical opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Please. Would you like to speak? You're worthy of it. Good man.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is a historic day led by President Trump's leadership. No other president, as Russ said, would have undertaken this and at the speed we did. It was a great team effort. This is the model of the Trump administration, everyone working together, mission aligned.
These people are scared.
And Lee is also working on cleaning up the horrible situation with regard to farm equipment. You could use John Deere as an example and other companies where tractors are unbelievably expensive and don't work as well because of all of the environmental nonsense that was put on them. Also excavators, any equipment like that, bulldozers, Caterpillar tractor would be a beneficiary, I guess, but the people are going to be a beneficiary because the equipment's going to be a lot less expensive, and it's going to also, most importantly, it's going to work much better. So we're working on that immediately as we speak. We'll probably make it so that any of that equipment built in the United States will not have to go through this. If it's built outside, I think we'll probably leave the standard the same. The people are going to send us equipment, let them have that standard for whatever it's worth, which is not much. And I think that's a very big announcement too, and we're going to see if we can get that done very quickly so that all of that equipment that we have made, including lawnmowers, etc., you won't have to go to the finest schools in the world in order to figure out how to operate it.
Hit the like button.
So any questions, please?
President Trump,
Hit the like.
thank you for this. And after this much supported move to roll back the former EPA's endangerment finding, what additional steps do you plan on taking to scale back what many are calling climate industry scams? Specifically, and Secretary Zelden knows about these wind turbines they're trying to bring to New York. Judge is allowing them to be rebuilt right near your hometown in Jamaica, Queens. They're being called a national security threat. for air traffic coming into the airport. What could you do to make sure these things
Well,
don't
we're
destroy
trying
the
to make sure it
environment?
doesn't happen, and we've basically stopped all windmills in this country. It's the most expensive energy you can get. They're all made in China, a little bit in Germany, but mostly in China. And we're putting them all over our fields and ruining the fields and killing the birds and all of this. And the environmentalists say they like it, but
Killing
they
the
really are a
birds.
tremendous eyesore. They've ruined. Europe has gone, as you know, Europe isn't even recognizable anymore between immigration and because of
This dude
environmental
can't
things
be
like the windmills,
serious.
which are taking over. The people hate them. The energy is by far the most expensive. And we're fighting very hard to make sure that they don't get built. I hope we don't have one built during my administration. We inherited some contracts where they've gone down the line a little bit. We're trying to terminate them for a lot of different reasons. One of the reasons, as you had mentioned, it's endangerment for the military. It's also endangerment for airliners. So we're trying to take care of those situations now. They should have never been allowed in the first place. Yeah,
Mr.
please.
President, thank you so much for taking
Sure.
questions. What do you tell Americans who are concerned that the $1.3 trillion in savings does come at a cost to public health and the environment based on
Yeah.
science?
I tell them, don't worry about it because it has nothing to do with public health. This is all a scam, a giant scam.
Here we
This is
go.
a ripoff of the country by,
That
Obama.
train is never late.
and let's say Obama started it and got it rolling. And it's terrible ripoff. They'll have more money to spend for healthcare. If you look at it, now they can go out and spend it on something that's meaningful. And nobody's doing more for healthcare than the Republican Party. And that starts with the fact that numbers that nobody's ever seen before. They're falling. We were paying the highest prices in the world by far, sometimes by 10 times more than other countries. Now we're going to be paying whatever the lowest price is anywhere in the world. We're going to be paying that. It's called favored nations, most favored nations. And I think it's the biggest thing to happen in this world, the world of medicine, prescription drugs, ever. There's never been anything like it. If like in my third year, first term, I actually got prices down 1/4 or 1/8%. And I was so proud of myself because they were like that for years and years. And since under Biden, they went up very, very substantially. And now they're coming down by, depending on, you could say 500, 600, 700%, depending on the way you want to, or you could say 80%. It doesn't matter. They're coming down by numbers that nobody ever thought possible. I got it all done and I got it all approved, and all of the countries all over the world are going to pay more. They've agreed to pay more because of tariffs. If you don't do it, we're going to have to tariff you, and they've all agreed to do it. Otherwise, they would have never done it. That was why no president has ever been able to get it done. Please.
Yeah, Mr. President, you took more than 600 deregulatory actions in the first year here. Coming from the business world, you know how unnecessary red tape can hinder business expansion, investment expansion. Given the magnitude of this announcement here today and the deregulatory action you took in your first year, how much economic growth can we expect to see as your term progresses?
It's a great question. I think that it'll be enormous. Who knows really what the number is, but I can tell you in terms of economic growth, we have $18 trillion being invested in this country right now, the most ever of any country by far, not even close. Think of it, no matter where, not just here. $18 trillion is coming in, and that money is being spent right now as we speak in new plants and equipments. And you may have heard Lee mention, I mentioned also, that over $100 billion is going to be spent in this very short period of time just by foreign auto companies on building auto plants in the United States. Some of the greatest thing that ever happened to the United Auto Workers. The head man was not been nice to me, but now I understand he's saying this is the greatest auto president in history. But the auto workers gave me their vote, and they knew what I was doing, and they know what needed to be done. The tariffs saved them, but this is now taken it to a level that I think, Lee, that nobody ever thought even possible. They thought this was, nobody would have the courage to do it. We have to have the courage to do it because we're making America great again. This is a big factor in making our country great. If you look at some of these cars, they didn't even work. They had computers all over the place trying to save a half an ounce of fuel. We have fuel for the next 500 to 1,000 years under our feet, and they're trying like hell to save a half an ounce of fuel. The whole thing is just crazy. Please, go ahead, please.
Mr. President, is climate cooperation with China no longer in America's interest? And could you please confirm that you are going to visit China the first week of April?
Yeah, I'll be
What would you
visiting
like-
President Xi in April. Look forward to it. He's coming here later in the year. And I look very much forward to it. No, our relationship with China is very good right now. And this is, not relevant too much having to do with China, what we're announcing today. But no, my relationship with President Xi is very good. Yes.
President, following your meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, has your thinking changed at all as it relates to these negotiations with
No,
Iran
we have
or
to
the
make a deal.
timeline with Iran?
We have to make a deal. Otherwise, it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands. But it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them in the back. I guess over the next month, something like that. Yeah, it shouldn't take. I mean, it should happen quickly. They should agree very quickly. Yeah.
Mr. President, we might be heading into a partial government shutdown. When was the last time you spoke with Chuck Schumer, and do you still feel Democrats are negotiating in good faith?
Well, a week ago I spoke, but we have to protect our law enforcement. Actually, the Supreme Court gave a ruling, or one of the courts gave a very big ruling on masks that you have the right to use them, for personal protection if you want. So I don't know how that interjects. They want our law enforcement to be totally vulnerable and put them in a lot of danger. They have some things that are really very, very hard to approve, frankly. As you know, it's only pretend. We had various of the other bills. That's all done, but we're left with this one. We have to protect our law enforcement. Very important. Please.
Why does Prime Minister Netanyahu want
Hello,
to stop negotiating?
Dennis. What's good?
He is. You're saying stop entertaining, stop talking to them. Didn't say that. We didn't discuss that. I'll talk to them as long as I like, and we'll see if we can get a deal with them. And if we can't, we'll have to go to phase two. Phase two will be very tough for them. I'm not looking for that.
Mr. President, there are currently 0 Israeli hostages left in Gaza because of you. Thank you for that. And now that the war is ending in Gaza and Israel, I wanted to ask
Hey, brothers, hit the like.
Any responsibility for the security failures that we saw on October 7th?
Well, October 7th was a rough time, and I guess everybody's responsible. Which you had to look, but it was a terrible attack. It was a sneak attack. It was as violent as unfortunately, I've seen some of the results at levels that probably even you, good reporter, but probably you haven't seen. It was a horrible thing that took place. People were surprised. It was a surprise attack. Nobody saw that coming. He didn't see it coming. Nobody else would have seen it coming if they were in his position, I don't believe. But I can tell you he's been a very good wartime prime minister. He's been very strong. We've worked with him very well. We had tremendous success with Iran and everything else we've done. And he really has been. He's been extraordinary as far as a wartime prime minister. Not easy. And, you have a president that refuses to give him a pardon. I think that man should be ashamed of himself. A pardon over this trial that's going on. The president of Israel, the primary power he's got is the power to give pardons. And he's not, he said he's given it 5 different times, but he doesn't want to do it because I guess he loses his power.
You're still giving pardon to convicted felons.
Should really shame him. He's disgraceful for not giving it. He should give it. But Bibi's been a great wartime prime minister, and I've been the best friend to Israel I think that they've ever had. A lot of people say beyond presidents that they've ever had, and we will continue to be. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, voter ID polls very well nationally. Even the majority of Democrat voters want it.
Right.
So why do you think Senate Democrats are resisting the SAVE Act? And what is your strategy and realistic pathway to getting the SAVE Act passed to ensure free and fair elections for the next generation?
It's such a great question. I appreciate it, actually, because it's called the Save America Act. We've changed the name. It's the Save America Act, and the Democrats are against it. I heard one of them say, we will stop the Save America Act. No, we're trying to save America. And it has to do with largely voting. And basically,
Yeah,
it's
you're
got
trying to save
three
white
very simple
America.
points. It's got voter ID, photo ID, but voter ID with a photo, right? It's got the confirmation of U.S. citizenship. You have to be a citizen. So you have a vote, you have an ID. That's about a 99% one. And I think 90% with Democrats. Then you have confirmation U.S. citizenship. That's about a 99% one with Republicans, about 86% with Democrats, except Democrat politicians because they cheat on elections. And then you have no mail-in ballots. And there would be no mail-in ballots, very important. You know, we're the only country in the world that does a system like we do. We're the only country in the world that has mail-in ballots. The way we do this is unbelievable. It guarantees cheating. So it's no mail-in ballots with the exception of disability, illness, military, or if you're traveling, you can get an exemption. You know, if you happen to be out of the country for a good reason, you can have an exemption.
Oh,
so with exceptions, it's no mail-in ballots, and that will assure the security of our crooked elections. We have crooked elections, yeah.
Mr. President, have you fired or disciplined that staffer because of the video from your account that included the Obamas?
No, I haven't. That was a video on, as you know, voter fraud. Then fairly long video, and they had a little piece and had to do with the Lion King. It's been very well. It's been shown all over the place long before that was posted. But that was a
lie.
That was a very strong. If you and I'm sure you saw it, a very strong piece on voter fraud, and the piece that you're talking about was all over the place many times. I believe for years. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, were you aware that Secretary of Commerce visited Epstein's Island? Do you continue to have?
No, I wasn't aware of it. No, I didn't. I actually haven't spoken to him about it.
I'm not going to hold my breath,
From what I
Zach.
hear, he was there with his wife and children.
That's too much like
I guess
right.
In some cases, some people were. I wasn't. I was never there. Somebody will someday say that. I was never there. Yeah, please.
This announcement that you made today, Mr. President, comes on the heels of a January jobs report that smashed industry expectations.
Smashed all records.
And big feature of that was you reprivatizing the economy, an economy that was bloated with federal employment under the previous president. What's your message to Americans following this jobs report that smashed industry expectations? Is this just a sign that the best is yet to come?
Thank you. The jobs report's amazing in certain ways because we have tremendously fewer federal employees, way down. And now I could have left them and added to what we did, and we would have had almost 100% employment. I could have gotten a great kick out of the fact that we're 100% employed, but we got rid of tremendous numbers of federal workers, and they hated me for it. Now they love me because most of them have gotten jobs in the private sector for 2 and 3 times more money than they were being paid by the federal government. We had some jobs where you had 10 workers for one job. 10 workers.
He was convicted in civil court. What are you talking about?
And we've gotten rid of a lot of those jobs. And by getting rid of them, these people became available to work in the private sector. And as you know, the numbers are incredible. So the job numbers are incredible. The financial numbers are beyond belief. Again, they thought it couldn't be done in 4 years, and I did it in 1 year.
Jesus Christ.
And the numbers you're going to see is these. I don't know if you notice also construction numbers, the jobs for construction workers. You know why? Because they're building plants all over the United States. That's why. And when these plants open in a year from now, some sooner, some a little bit later, but when these auto plants, AI plants, and thousands of other types of plants, when they open over the next period of a year, year and a half, you're going to see numbers like we've never seen before in this country. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Let's go.
I want to grab something real quick. All right. Well, that was fun. Lie after lie after lie. Delusion after delusion after delusion after delusion. Speaking of delusion, I want to congratulate Mr. Nick Fuentes. I want to congratulate Mr. Nick Fuentes for quitting being a grifter. He ain't quitting being no damn grifter. He ain't quitting being about nothing. He's pathetic. He is pathetic. He is nothing but pathetic. Look, all right. But he was saying some particular truths that I did like, that were true, that I was saying to myself, it's about time.
We're in the middle of February. This is still a big deal. This started in July. Her about the victims and are you going to unredact the rest of the files? And she's doing this like ham-handed Trump thing where she's trying to insult the people asking the questions, trying to do the most transparent and obvious and clumsy pivot I've ever seen in my life. They're saying, hey, release the files. She's like, well, you're a loser. You're a never Trumper. What about the stock market? Bitch. And know what's amazing about this? You know that she was coached by Trump to do this. That's the worst part. Because I know how Trump operates, and I know how he thinks, and I know his MO. And you know that before she went into this hearing, they had a huddle, and they knew this was coming. They knew they were going to be asked about the files, and I'm sure Trump told her, you know, you got to talk about the stock market. You got to flip the script. You got to frame it in a different way. Talk about all the other successes. Because that's the playbook. Am I wrong? That is every Truth Social post. That's every rally. That's every press pool.
I got to admit, I think that is literally what happened, that they got in a conference room and said, Pam, you got to be me. You got to be Trump. You got to smear these people, change the frame of reference, do all these red herrings and subterfuge and divert.
Well, explain to me, since he wasn't convicted in civil court and not in federal, explain to me the 34 counts of theft. He's a 34 convicted felon. And also explain to me why Trump's name is adapted at least 1,000 times over. Although we already seen the pictures. We already seen the photos. I don't know why you people are so damn delusional, but joke's going to be on you pretty soon. Can't wait.
Diversionary tactics to get away from it. And it really, I'm sorry for laughing because this is so sad and it's such like a serious issue that's being covered up. But it just is so ridiculous how they're responding to this stuff. No.
You always get the 30-minute monologue about the most successful administration in history and the job numbers and the border and blah, blah.
No, instead of calling out names, like this is like it means like it's supposed to mean something to me. Explain to me why he's convicted, why he's a 34-time convicted felon. Explain to me that.
So you know that they were going into that, and that was the playbook. And she was going to play the Trump.
Because see, this is mostly Trump supporters. He wasn't convicted. He was trying. He got let go after he had to pay. After he had to pay the chick all sorts of money, and then he ended up getting broke. You don't know what you're talking about. You're goofy. Oh my God, you're goofy. You don't know anything about Trump. You don't know anything about Trump, stupid.
Card. But you know what? It's not working anymore. It doesn't work in the face of this Jeffrey Epstein scandal. We'll talk about why that is, because I think it says something actually pretty salient.
Yeah, what happened is it did work like once or twice with Trump.
Once again, he was never tried in federal court. But since he has immunity, you freaker... let me not do that. You fuckers are lucky. But once those seats turn blue, yikes. Impeached.
Trump getting laughs among his base by mispronouncing Pete Buttigieg's name, or Rick DeSanctimonious, if you remember that. Ron DeSanctimonious.
And you black conservatives, shame on you. Shame on you. Diddy lovers.
I don't know why I always call him Rick. And when he smeared Elizabeth Warren, I think hilariously so, for when she unleashed her DNA results, proving that she is in fact 1/1024th of a Native American. That was funny, and that worked for Trump. But now when you're embroiled in a child sex trafficking cover-up scandal, it doesn't always work the same way. And that's what both Trump and Bondi have found out, I think.
It says something pretty profound about the entire MAGA movement. There's some sense of closure. We're sort of returning in the end to where we started in the beginning. It's kind of symbolic. And we'll talk about that. That'll be our featured story. Related to that, we're also going to talk about Howard Lutnick. We were going to cover this last night. As you know, Howard Lutnick is named many times in the Epstein files, in the files that were released 2 weeks ago.
No, I'm not a Democrat, but I'm also not stupid to vote for a convicted felon. Or a racist bigot, I might add. But I'm shocked at you. I'm shocked at all of you. And since you are a Trump supporter, you advocate for all the things he has done in the past years. I don't care if it's in the past year. I don't give a fuck if it's in the present. I don't care. You show your old whole asshole when you basically support people like this. Congratulations, you are a coon.
And one of the major revelations from the files, and there's not many, as we've been talking about, there isn't really a big smoking gun in the middle of the files. But one of the things that we have learned is that Howard Lutnick was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. And more than that, he lied about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
True, Howard Lutnick was the next door neighbor of Epstein and swore off making contact with him in 2005. Well, the revealed files show that
after Jeffrey Epstein was charged and convicted for sex trafficking, he cut off contact with Epstein.
Actually, Lutnick said that he cut off contact in 2005. That was before charges, before the plea deal and the sweetheart deal. So he actually claimed it was even before that.
And he has maintained that is his story, that's his alibi for over a decade. Well, we've now found out from the files that that's a lie. Not true. Howard Lutnick maintained a friendship with Epstein long after Epstein was charged, convicted, served his sentence. And actually, Howard Lutnick brought his entire family to the Epstein Island with his kids. And this is in the emails. He lied. For those that don't know, Howard Lutnick is the Commerce Secretary. He is deeply involved in U.S. diplomacy in the Middle East, with China, with all these.
I almost forgot, MAGA. I almost forgot. Silly me. Silly me. Oh, by the way, I'm We-On-Loc. And I tell the truth around this bitch. So, let's see. Since you advocate for Trump, and you don't advocate for the truth, which none of you care nothing about the truth, and you care nothing about children either. Just put that in your resume. Where was I? Oh, I was doing like this. Let me ask you something. How valuable is your family? How valuable is your family? That is the question. As a black man, I'm bothered by the fact that a few of my brothers are Trump fans. Hey, Celie, is it Cecily? Listen, it bothers me too. It pains. It hurts my soul. It hurts my soul to see the brothers. Share with this one. What are you talking about? Posting isn't available. Oh, you know what they did? You know what they did? They deleted it. Oh well. Oh freaking well. I can always go back. I can always go back real quick and go to my live stream. See, the truth, here's the frightening part. Since we're under this administration, a lot of these videos get redacted or they just disappear out of the woodwork. I'm not shocked and I'm not surprised at that. As a matter of fact, I laugh at it because people don't want the truth to come out. So this is what I would do. If I can find it, unless they came up here and they got rid of it. I hope they did get rid of it, you stupid son of bitches. Oh, no, I don't want to read that because you can get that from the DOJ anytime. You can get all those file redactors at the DOJ. Oh. Oh, you Trump lovers, this is for you.
Why are we now just seeing this? And oh look, background.
Oh look! Look! Is that Trump? That's Trump again. On the island. Here we go now. What did you do? What did you see? I love you. Go Trump. Go Trump. Y'all sick. Yep, you're very sick. Very sick puppies. Very sick puppies indeed. Very sick puppies. But it's okay. It's quite okay. For those particular, what you call them, anti-Trump supporters, I just want to tell you, I have your back 100. I have your back 100. 100% on this sloppy individual, which will be impeached one of these days. I would hopefully in November, when we do turn the tables on his ass and he gets convicted, or if he somehow just croaks and just passes out someplace, which he proclaims he's the most healthiest thing since Obama. And why does he keep targeting Obama so much? That is just crazy work. That's crazy. And hopefully, I don't know if he's involved in that Cannibal Elector shit. I don't know if he's involved in that, but Let's see. That's with his name on it. No. Damn, they erased everything. Y'all scared. They just erased the damn video. Y'all some scary individuals. Y'all really don't want the conviction. Y'all don't want the truth to come out, do you? That's a damn shame. That is a fucking shame. Let's see. That is one fucking shame.
Other countries, there's extraordinary pressure on him to step down, but the White House is standing.
Play it again? Okay. I gotta do what the missus tell me. I gotta do what the missus tell me. I gotta play the shit again. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Let's see. What is James Brown doing in the background? What the hell, James? Well, hold on. Well, maybe he's just taking pictures with underage girls. Taking pictures with underage girls. All right. Oh, wow. You need a timeout. Prince Andrews. They just showed him with an underage female. And on the walls, you see nothing but faces. I'm thinking they ripped them bitches off and put them on the wall. And these people cheer for that. This is where education has failed. Children. Education has failed. Education is wasted. And this is the reason why we need black schools. This is the reason why we need our own schools with black teachers who actually care for their students. Because education is pretty much wasted, and it is in white people believe whatever the fuck they want to believe. But we must, if we were to delineate from anything, we need to delineate from that. We need to delineate from that shit. And oh my goodness. God be with you all. God be with you all. For those who believe that there's nothing wrong, that's just girls. That's just girls. That's just girls. Why are you taking the shit seriously? Shit needs to be taken serious. But it would be okay if it was your daughter. you'll probably sell your daughter to the highest bidder. That's what white folks do, right? Sell their daughters to the highest bidder. And it's a shame too when black folks do it. I have to admit, the R. Kelly thing that was a damn shame. That was a crying shame. But ultimately, that's a very small percentage, my nigga. Very, very small percentage. And you know what? My Mexicanos, I feel sorry for you too. Why does he want your country so much? I don't know why he wants your country. And he wants Canada too. I don't know why. What he did to that girl, though, was wrong. What he did to that girl was dead wrong. What they did to her, I forgot what her name was. The one that got shot 5 times. I got to find her. Who was the one that got shot 5 times? Matter of fact, girl. Not shot 5 times.
You've been watching the attorney for Miramar Martinez speak with reporters in Chicago. She was shot 5 times by a Border Patrol agent in October. Body camera video of what happened was released late yesterday. Her lawyer will be filing a civil lawsuit saying ICE picked the wrong
Thank you for the
victim to
sub.
mess with.
Thank you for the sub.
Her lawyers say he is trying to regain her reputation after Martinez was called a domestic terrorist. Martinez's lawyer says she is a U.S. citizen, a school teacher with no criminal history, and at the time of the shooting, she was on her way to a church to donate some clothes. Her lawyer blasting federal investigators, saying they are lying about what happened. Let's bring in Justice Department reporter Luke Barr for more. So, Luke, it seems like the release of this body camera video was vital to this case.
Yeah, Perry, though Agent Exum, who was the one who shot Miramar Martinez, was not wearing his body-worn camera, as the attorney outlined, just a couple of moments ago. There was other agents in the vehicle that were wearing their body-worn camera, and according to Ms. Martinez's lawyer,
A major development.
Grazed the side of my chest.
Or he shot her. I spoke to Martinez in an exclusive interview.
Can I show them?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was shot in my arm right here, and then I went through my tricep, and then it grazed the side of my chest.
Reminders of what could have been Miramar Martinez's last day. October 4th, the Department of Homeland Security claimed she rammed a Border Patrol agent's vehicle in Chicago with her car before that agent got out and shot her multiple times. She says she was on her way to donate clothes until she saw what appeared to be federal agents, already becoming a familiar sight in Chicago's neighborhoods.
So I started beeping my horn as a Mexican American, first generation USA citizen. I felt it was my responsibility to let my neighborhood know that ICE agents were near.
They turned out to be Border Patrol.
So I just got next to him and I was like, get out of here. And I was just like honking.
That's when she says they sideswiped her, contradicting Border Patrol's narrative.
They immediately stopped. I gotta go somewhere safe. I went to my furthest left, make sure that I wasn't gonna hit them. As I was passing them, they started shooting at me through the side.
The agent got out of his vehicle and shot Martinez 5 times. It feels like it's still top of mind for you, right?
It's painful. Just to talk about it, it's think about it, just me remembering what happened that day. It's traumatic, honestly.
She was charged with forcibly assaulting and resisting or impeding a border agent and labeled a domestic terrorist by the Department of Homeland Security. And then, over a month later, in what became a critical court hearing, the agent who shot her, Charles Exum, testified the collision was more of a hit, not rammed. Then, these text messages came out where he appeared to be bragging about shooting you read it, 5 shots, 7 holes, put that in your book, boys. You were sitting right there.
What type of agent brags about it? This is what the administration has out in the street.
For 15 years, I was a federal prosecutor. I worked every day with FBI, DEA, DHS. I have never come across an agent like that, and it's something that's embarrassing to me as a former federal prosecutor. Thursday night, there was suddenly a major shift. The case was dropped, and at the request of the prosecution, despite the case being dismissed, DHS stuck to their original accusations. On October 4th, Border Patrol law enforcement officers were ambushed by domestic terrorists that rammed federal agents with their vehicles. The woman, Marimar Martinez, driving one of the vehicles, was armed with a semi-automatic weapon and has a history of doxing federal agents. We will not allow domestic terrorists to attack our law enforcement. This was after you were cleared of these charges.
Where are they getting all this fake information from? I was just shocked, honestly.
While a gun was found in her car, it was never brought out. It was still inside a holster with the snap closed. She also has her license, her attorney says. They're still putting out these false statements that are disputed by their own people, right? Agent Exum testified that there was no ramming. I mean, he's the driver. He was there. For Martinez, she's just happy this chapter is over with, but she can't avoid its reminders. When you look at those, scars on your body, what do you think about?
I'm a survivor.
And it's not just the physical scars she lives with.
I don't want to remember that day. You're laying there at night and you're just thinking about it, like, what's going to happen? Like, it's really emotional to me. So it's like, it's hard for me to talk about it, but I'm trying.
Moving forward, Martinez.
There's some very closed-minded people in the chat. No morals, no ethics whatsoever. So, as I say this, putting it to close, for those individuals who have empathy and common sense, you will live longer lives. Pray every day that you stay up. Pray each and every single day, because your life is going to be so much better indeed. But for the rest of you who preys on this type of stuff, shame on you. Trump will be evicted. If not, he will burn in hell. Deuces.